On tonight's Wales at 6, a climb down on cuts again. The Prime Minister reverses planned benefits changes after a backbench rebellion of Labour MPs. But some say he hasn't gone far enough.
PIP is there to support people's equipment or need throughout their day. I think the government don't understand that. I think that they think a lot of people are just spending it on fish and chips or cinema tickets.
Also tonight, the compensation row. Michael O'Brien spent 11 years in jail for a murder he didn't commit and claims tens of thousands were wrongly deducted from his payout. Plus,
this iconic seafront town of Aberystwyth is home tonight to one of the largest events in the road racing calendar, and I'm here at the heart of it all.
And there's even more adrenaline-fueled action to come. We'll join Kelsey in amongst the trees at Zip World. Hello, good evening to you. As the Welsh Labour Party gathers in North Wales tonight on the eve of its annual conference, a major talking point will no doubt be the Labour government's latest and biggest U-turn. Just before midnight, MPs received confirmation via email that planned and very controversial cuts to disability benefits would now only apply to future claimants, not current ones. At least 5 Welsh Labour MPs had publicly backed a move to block the Prime Minister's legislation. Our political editor, Adrian Masters, is live in Llandudno for us tonight. Adrian, good evening to you. It's not even a year, is it, since Keir Starmer won his landslide majority at Westminster, but it seems that we're seeing some real fractures now in his party.
Andrew, it's been one of the most difficult times for Labour, and as you say, it hasn't yet been a year since it won power in Westminster. But that's because really this argument kind of gets to the heart of what Labour is for, or who Labour is for. So it's not just an ordinary political row, if you like. It also gets to the heart of the relationship between Labour in Wales and Labour in Westminster. So as I say, all in all, not just an ordinary political row.
This is about dignity. This is about surviving and living on our own terms.
Protests like this here in Wales and elsewhere made it clear how much concern there's been about the UK government plans to reform disability benefits. But it was pressure from his own MPs that really forced the Prime Minister to act. A third of Labour MPs, including Welsh MPs, said they'd vote down his plans. That's why he's U-turned. We spoke to campaigner Joshua Reeves earlier this week. He now says he's glad that politicians have heard voices like his.
It feels kind of good that we have got a rebellion now, and backbench Labour is actually listening to their disabled people in the consultancy, in their community, and I think that it's really good that it pressurizes the side that wants to cut it to know that, right, this will actually have a detrimental effect on disabled people.
Planned cuts to disability benefits, known as PIP, will now only apply to future claimants, not current ones. And even though the government has climbed down on its original plan, Joshua says it still puts a lot of pressure on disabled people to prove they're in need of it.
Some people are scared to be bedbound now, that they might think that they have to be bedbound or even housebound because of the requirement, the accessible needs that they've got, that PIP helps them get into society.
The welfare reform bill bringing in the changes has its second reading next week, the first opportunity for MPs to support or reject it. One Welsh MP who had backed the rebel amendment today says she's pleased.
Because at least the government have been listening to us, which is really, really important. And let's be honest, over 120 MPs, Labour MPs, we can't all be wrong. And we're not rebels. I know there's a conspiracy theory that say we want to topple the government, but no, we have made this stand because we're really concerned about the welfare reforms.
It's still set to overshadow the party's Welsh conference taking place here in Llandudno this weekend. But the climb down might be a sigh of relief for Eluned Morgan. Her government had formally called on her colleagues in Westminster to think again. It's a tricky time for Keir Starmer. This third major U-turn raises questions about his leadership, not even a year since he won a landslide majority in the UK general election. So all this is happening as Welsh Labour gathers for its conference here in Llandudno, and I'm joined here on an extremely windy prom, I have to mention, by the First Minister, Eluned Morgan. You must be pleased that this U-turn has happened because you'd called for it, the Welsh Government called for it, but why did it have to take so long?
Well, the good thing is that the government has listened, and I'm a leader who is interested in listening. I'm really glad now that Keir Starmer's listened. We've been consistent in the Welsh Government in terms of our concerns in relation to these welfare proposals. We know it was going to have a disproportionate impact in Wales on the most vulnerable and in pockets.
It took, 120 odd MPs to back a rebel amendment to get him to listen. He didn't listen to you, he didn't listen to the letter from the Welsh Government, he didn't listen to people beforehand. What do you have to do? Well,
we did send the letter just 3 days ago. It's great that actually there was a chorus that we're actually just asking for a rethink on this policy, and it's great that there's going to be a rethink. It's going to give peace of mind to those hundreds of thousands who were concerned that they might be affected by these changes.
And you know, I'm not going to rehearse all the things, but opposition parties say that there's no benefit to having a Labour Party in power in Cardiff and a Labour Party in power in Westminster. This only feeds into that argument, doesn't it?
I don't think so. I think it demonstrates that we've been clear to them. They received the letter. They received the letter. They've changed their minds, and more than that, they've also given us a heap load of extra money, over £5 billion that we're spending on the things that really matter to the people of Wales.
Okay, well,
and let's not forget that Plaid and the Tories voted against that money coming into our communities.
Okay, so he didn't do the U-turn because of your letter, really. It was because of the rebel MPs.
Who knows?
But you talked about the money, all that extra money that you undoubtedly you have had an increase in your budget, but it's not a gift. It's just what you should have had, and some would argue not as much as you should have had.
Well, we've had 14 years where we've had to really tighten our belts, and we've had to.
But it's your party in charge now.
It's been really difficult, and the difference now is that we've got extra money because we have the shared values.
But still not all that you deserve.
Well, because they care about the things we care about the NHS, about education, about making our transport better, about making sure that people have that support within their communities. All of these things are common values. Because they've invested in those, we get a chance to invest in them as well, in a way that we weren't able to for 14 years under the Tories.
Right, okay, Eluned Morgan, thank you for joining me, as I say, on this windy prom. Eluned Morgan will be speaking here at the conference in Llandudno tomorrow, along with other senior figures. Should be quite an interesting time. I will tell you more about it over the weekend.
Adrian, thank you, and we look forward to hearing more from you. A 21-year-old from Cardiff who stabbed a man to death in a revenge attack has been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 22 years. Georgie Tonetta was found guilty of murdering 43-year-old James Brogan following an earlier argument at a party. Mr. Brogan's daughter said the victim's family would carry the pain of what had happened for the rest of their lives. Gwent Police has been told it needs to improve crime investigations and do more to protect vulnerable people. The Pearl report, which looks at the efficiency of police forces across the UK, found not enough offenders are brought to justice and 999 calls need to be responded to quicker. It did praise Gwent Police for how it records crime data, and the force has welcomed those findings.
Overall, they need to focus in on those investigative lines, making sure you've got the right resources in place, which if you approach it from that perspective, then you will get better outcomes for members of the public, which, as you rightly say, is really important for confidence of the local community.
Concerns are growing in the Welsh agricultural community after 2 cases of bird flu have been confirmed here. It's the first time the highly infectious virus has been identified in a poultry flock since 2023. One of the cases is near Wrexham, from where our reporter Joanne Gallagher can bring us more details on this tonight. Joanne, good evening to you. It must be a very anxious time for farmers, really.
Absolutely. Bird flu, 2 little words that strike the fear into the heart of many farmers. And here in Glenceiriog, in the county borough of Wrexham, there has been a confirmed case on a commercial game premises. Now, there are restrictions in place. Movement is being restricted and monitored. All animals will be humanely killed. Now, of course, this is the second area in Wales to be affected. Haverfordwest in Pembrokeshire, also a 120 farm there with 120 hens. Angela is very traumatised about what's happened on her farm.
The impact has been huge. The distress of seeing your pets being culled is, I'm still not sleeping. Like, I've still got the sounds and the visions in my head, and that in itself is enough to break someone. But the amount of how everything is snowballed, like having to shut the farm, having all of our shop stock ruined from the disinfections.
You can hear the anxiety there in Angela's voice. This is so much more than just a business to her. Of course, she cares very deeply about these animals, as many farmers do. And their union today, NFU Cymru, also saying that this is an extremely anxious time for farmers when they have lots of other things that they are also concerned about. The Welsh Government also saying today that they are thinking about farmers, and they thank them for the help that they are doing to protect this poultry industry going forward.
Joanne, thank you. Near to Wrexham, and that's another story we'll be keeping you updated on. Next, tonight, he was a victim of one of the most notorious miscarriages of justice in Welsh history, jailed for a murder he didn't commit. But having fought for his innocence, Michael O'Brien now finds himself fighting against the system, having been billed for his time in prison. He says it's unfair and it needs to change. Here's our national correspondent, Rob Osborne.
Imagine being jailed for a murder you didn't commit. And now imagine having your compensation partly deducted for board and lodge for your time in prison. Well, that's exactly what's happened to Michael O'Brien.
I had 647,000 in compensation, and they deducted £37,000, £37,500 to be exact, from that compensation. Saying I would have spent that money on the outside anyway on food and water. I'm in the process at the moment of judicially reviewing, the Home Secretary. We don't know where we stand on that yet. We're still waiting for the permission stage. But, I'm prepared to fight, and that's what it's all about.
And it's 27th of June, so today is the anniversary of the start of the trial.
That's right. That is correct. It was the start of the trial today. So we wanted to remind people of the wrongful conviction as well, and the difficulties we went through all those years ago, and some of the difficulties we're still facing now.
Michael was on trial with two others for the murder of this man, Philip Saunders, a Cardiff newsagent. But the Cardiff three were innocent. The government says it has changed the rules and that saved living expenses will no longer be deducted. But that does not apply retrospectively. Those campaigning with Michael O'Brien say it's deeply unfair.
He lost his health, his mental health, physical health, family he lost, his dignity, all of that. And surely to add insult to injury, as we're calling it, is just showing how contemptuous they are of people.
Today, Michael was campaigning outside the UK government's headquarters in Cardiff. And he says he will continue his fight until there's been a change in the law. Rob Osborne, ITV News.
OK, it is nearly 6:15 now. You're watching Wales at 6. Still to come on the programme tonight. Ruth is here, so what have you got for us?
Well, a rather dull weekend of weather with maybe just a little spot of sunshine for the lucky few, but I'm hoping to make up for the lack of excitement in the forecast with an adrenaline-fuelled ride on an alpine slide. Well, would you be brave enough to give it a go?
I'm not sure is the answer to that. I like to think I would be. We'll find out later. Now, how many of you remember the famous 90s sitcom Keeping Up Appearances? Well, Snobby Hyacinth was the inspiration behind the name of a cleaning company set up by a Welsh businesswoman when she was just 18 years old. Now, Rachel Flanagan's firm, called Mrs. Bouquet, employs 400 people. And she's inspiring a new generation of young people that grit and determination can really pay off. Lewis Rhys-Jones explains.
I'm Rachel.
It's back to the classroom for this local entrepreneur who's looking to inspire the next generation of pupils at Pontarddulais Comprehensive School. Rachel Flanagan started her own cleaning business at the age of 18, and 20 years on, her multi-million-pound firm has just taken up the contract to clean her old school.
As you can imagine, I'm very passionate about, transforming the environment here for the pupils, for the teachers. Like, some of the teachers are still here that taught me as well. And I really believe in clean environments make people thrive. I believe that we need more entrepreneurs in Wales, in the UK. It's, how our economy is only going to thrive for our future, but it starts at school in inspiring them.
And that's exactly what Rachel hopes to have achieved during her visit.
It showed me how even though I'm here just like she was, I can still achieve big things.
It gives you a confidence boost with school always encouraging you, and when people say how successful they've been, it makes you think, oh, I can do that too if I really wanted to.
I've always had support from teachers, family, they can, give you advice on what you want to do in the future.
You okay?
It's great to have Rachel come back to the school. She's a fantastic role model, and it shows what can be achieved through courage, hard work and resilience. And it shows our pupils that why not? Why can't they be the next entrepreneur or go on and do great things themselves?
From starting with just £20 in her pocket to now running a company that employs around 400 people. It's been a full circle moment for Rachel to come back to Pontarddulais Comprehensive School to inspire today's children to chase their dreams. Lewis Rhys-Jones, ITV News.
What a story. And buckets or bouquet? Well, you decide. Wales has been welcoming some of the biggest names in British road racing for a 3-day competition around Ceredigion. It's hoped the Lloyd's National Road Championships will boost the economy, with thousands lining the routes around Aberyron yesterday and Aberystwyth. Today, our reporter Isa Farfor has more.
Good evening from this vibrant town of Aberystwyth. As you can see behind me, people are getting ready and the atmosphere is going to be electric here. This is one of the biggest events in the road racing calendar, and 3 events packed into 1 week of adrenaline, power and strategy. And I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Jonathan from British Cycling. Thank you very much for being with us. Tell us about this event. How exciting is it and how significant is this for riders and fans?
Well, first of all, it's fantastic to be here in Aberystwyth, in Ceredigion. This event is huge. Listen, the British Cycling National Road Championships are a big, big event. Really important event on the calendar where riders, both men and women, will compete for our national championship jerseys, and they get to wear the coveted red, white and blue bands for the season.
And how many races are there and how many national jerseys waiting to be grabbed?
So we have jerseys across under 23 and elites for men and women. We had time trials yesterday in Aberyron, which were closely fought out, produced some fantastic racing, loads of spectators out on the courses, which was amazing. We're here for the Circuit Championships tonight, and then on Sunday we've got the road races, both elite men, women and the under-23s as well. So yeah, it's going to be amazing.
And this is not just about racing, it's about promoting cycling and the town itself.
Yeah, absolutely, and the area. Listen, this is part of a 3-year partnership that we've got with Welsh Government to bring this event here now for 3 years to Wales, which is magnificent. So yeah, it's huge. It will bring lots of visitors into the area. It's been really busy, bustling today in Aberystwyth, as it was yesterday in Aberyron, and I'm sure it'll be super packed all weekend.
Thank you very much. Well, it's shaping up to be a thrilling evening here. This wonderful Welsh town is putting on a spectacular show. So from me and everyone here, have a wonderful evening.
Looking a little bit wet where Isa was, and we'll get more on Ruth a little later on about the weather. But that leg starting off now as we're on air, and I know lots of cycling fans will be watching that very closely. Let's get a reminder now of our top story this evening. Thanks for your company tonight. There's plenty more still ahead on the ITV Evening News.
Coming up on tonight's ITV Evening News, a life sentence for the man who murdered schoolboy Daniel Angerin with a samurai sword in Hainault last year. Another government U-turn, this time on welfare. The government may have avoided a backbench rebellion, but at what cost? And all aboard the celebrity wedding of the year. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Charlene coming up shortly. That looked like the life, didn't it? Ruth is here. It's time to talk about the weather here, though, not in Venice.
Absolutely, yes. I'm not sure about Venice, but I think he said demonstrated that Aberystwyth is not too perfect. So, of course, the weekend now is just around the corner. It's not looking too bad. There will be some sunny spells for the lucky few, but nothing to get too excited about. But you know what? To make up for that, I do have something slightly more adrenaline-filled for you. How about a trip on an alpine coaster? Not for the faint-hearted. The ride at Zip World in Betws-y-Coed is the only one of its kind in the UK. And Kelsey Medmore was brave enough to give it a go.
Hidden in a valley is a thrill seeker's paradise, where you can whiz, drop and swing to your heart's content.
Let's give this a go then, shall we?
But what goes up must come down.
Okay, this is where the fun begins.
I'm on the forest coaster at Zip World. It's one of their most popular sites, and you can see why. It's so fun. It can reach a top speed of 25 miles per hour, and there's 1,000 metres of track to whiz along.
That was so much faster and scarier than I thought it was going to be. Oh, but it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. Oh, I feel like I need to get my breath back now.
Zip World Forest is the brainchild of Zip World owner Sean Taylor.
Do you think then that the soundtrack to your life is just sort of hearing people scream?
Well, I've never thought about my life a bit like that, but hopefully it's a happy scream.
Yes, yeah.
It is, you know, we don't want to terrify people because we want you to come back. I had an amazing 20-year career in the Royal Marines. So I was on the parachute display team for 5 years. I was a ski instructor, abseil instructor, a bit of a comic book kind of life, you know, for a young lad. So yeah, and then after I finished in the Marines, I was a personal security bodyguard for 4 or 5 years, and I set this place up in which was Treetop Adventure in 2007.
So what else has Forest got to offer? I'll take a walk around and find out.
Ooh, let go. Woo!
And it's not just zips, it's more of a high-level obstacle course.
It's wobbly.
Which gets higher and higher.
My word, this is really testing me right now. That was amazing. I honestly cannot believe how high up some of those things were. I was wobbling around. I mean, I'm fine with heights, but even someone like me, even I was trying not to look down at the floor at times. Oh, that was so good.
She did enjoy that, honestly. And you can see more of that on Coast and Country tonight at 7 o'clock, right here on ITV Cymru Wales. Now then, I did say that, well, I was trying to soften the blow, really, something adrenaline-fueled there, because quite frankly, the weather forecast is looking really rather dull. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. Dull and drizzly, but a little bit brighter in the east. So head inland if it's sunshine you're after as we head into the start of the coming weekend. And then for Sunday, something a little bit drier and a little bit brighter for everyone. But I think temperature-wise, not brilliant, but starting to warm up. Now then, speaking of temperature, you may or may not have heard that there are rumours of a heat wave. Let me show you this on the bigger picture. So we've got low pressure that's been dominating, bringing frontal systems through today. High pressure dominates into the coming weekend, so settled, as I said, for Sunday in particular and into Monday. Now then, not only have we got settled conditions for Monday, we've got a blast of warm air coming in from the continent. So across the southeast, yes, there will be heat wave conditions through Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. For us here in Wales, we're a little bit too far west, so we may well hit the dizzy heights of 28 on Monday, but it's going to be for one day only. Here are the details.
Today sees sunshine, sand and a spell of bamboo rafting. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
It's not particularly cheerful out there at the moment. It's still quite breezy with lots of low cloud, misty, murky conditions, which from time to time will allow some drizzle, which can actually be quite heavy over the hills and mountains. Temperatures tonight, though, are going to remain very mild indeed, barely dipping below 17 or 18 in Celsius. So it's going to be a mild start to the weekend and a thoroughly murky start as well, that low cloud persisting. It will burn away quite quickly during the course of the morning, but again, you can see always the chance of a few spots of patchy rain and drizzle, most likely over Snowdonia, Eryri, down across the Cambrians as well. As a general rule, the further east you go tomorrow, this is where you'll see the best of the blue sky and sunshine, and actually relatively decent temperatures too, highs of 23. Not surprisingly though, just that little bit fresher out towards the coast, and here that wind will persist. High levels of UV everywhere. As we head through then into Saturday evening, things will start to settle considerably, and Sunday, as it stands, is shaping up to be a generally fine and dry day, varying amounts of cloud, but certainly a decent day if you are making plans, and the temperature's still sticking at around 22, maybe 23 in Celsius. So it's not a bad weekend in prospect. And then, as we head into the start of next week, I know we don't like talking about Monday, but we have to mention it because, as I've been saying, there is a ridge of high pressure, and you can see it down across the far southeast. That will start to build, and that means that, accompanied by warm air into Monday, there is the possibility that we could reach highs of 27 or 28 in Celsius. Now, the temperatures will peak for us here in Wales on Monday. As I've been saying, there is talk of heatwave conditions, but that's not going to happen here in Wales. It's a one-day offering only, and thankfully something slightly more comfortable by the time we get into Tuesday.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather. Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Well, as far as your pollen count is concerned, we are unfortunately at the time of year where grass and weed pollens are generally high, dropping to moderate or even low, though, if you do see any of those showers over the next few days. So there you go, all very dull, nothing too exciting, and one day possible highs of 28. That was pretty much it.
OK, Aberystwyth was a good kind of example then, wasn't it, of what it's probably going to be like. And that's it. Megan Book has your late headlines after the news at 10 from us. Bye-bye.